A very early start today this morning, and I've been harvesting some fruit. We've got some lovely looking plums in there and a couple of apples. I think they're just crab apples. They're quite small ones. These plums are so tasty. I ate one way down the garden, really soft, very sweet as well. And I think they're Victoria plums. Beautiful. Plus loads and loads more blackberries. So that were well worth a little trip out this morning. Last day of August today, and that means one thing: 23 days until autumn. And it seems that this year it's come around much quicker than it normally does. And maybe that's because it's been such a rubbish summer. Probably the worst summer I can remember. So well done to anybody that started gardening this year, got something from it, and is still determined to carry on through autumn, winter and into next spring, because you've had a bit of a challenge on. And thank you very much to Sylvia Briggs for making that PayPal donation yesterday. I really appreciate that, Sylvia, and it's going to come in very useful over the next few weeks. At this point we're going to be sowing a lot less seeds. I'm planting out less plants. We'll have to stick more to cold hardy things that we can put in during September to overwinter. Things that we can grow in a greenhouse in containers with that couple of degrees extra warmth to help those plants along. We'll be looking at taking out things like as tomato plants, because they'll be getting tired, they'll stop producing, and any that are producing aren't going to get time to grow little fruits into really big ripe ones. So there is still quite a few things that we need to be looking at during September. I'll be clearing out a greenhouse with the intention of planting it up with things during September, so I can better protect them through harsher weather. Just like we did last year with those red cabbages, and we know that we got a really good harvest from those. And I'll still be keeping that container garden going as well, as best we can. It is definitely going to have a lot less plants in there than it did through spring and summer, but we'll still try and keep something going. And if that weather gets too extreme, as it does sometimes in winter at UK, we've always got the option of moving small containers into a greenhouse. But we're not quite in autumn yet, so still things to look at and plans to make. And what I'm going to look at today is plants that I might as well get rid of today and not wait until next month. Things like this courgette plant that I've got in corner. It's produced loads and loads of courgettes, yet every single one's rotted, which as far as I'm concerned is due to lack of pollination, because the colder and wetter your days are through summer, the less pollinators are about. So because of that, you're probably going to find a lot of things don't get pollinated like they would on a regular year. So because of that, your fruit grows, rots and then falls off. And that's what's happened with basically every courgette that we've grown on that plant. So I think it's time to call it a day with that one, dig it up, compost it. And then that's another little section of greenhouse that we've tidied out and prepared for this coming autumn. We'll not be taking these tomato plants out just yet because they're full of tomatoes, and there's a lot of green ones on there that are now starting to turn red, so we've still got another big harvest of tomatoes to come. Maybe the Italian plum tomatoes will be coming out in the other greenhouse, because they don't produce as many tomatoes as these types, which are Sweet Million, or your regular ones like Gardener's Delight and Alicante. They form small clusters of big fruits, but you don't get as many on the Italian plum tomatoes. So what's left on that plant will be it for this year. So I'll probably take off what's left of that fruit, and then we can get those plants dug up, prepare that ground and decide what we want to do with that greenhouse. But apart from doing all that, we'll also have a quick look at that container garden and see what's going on in there, because I'm pretty sure there's also a couple of plants that we might as well move out. So we have still got things going on in this container garden. We're actually still getting strawberries. That's a nice little one. I'll take that off on the way back down, and that one as well, before those birds see them. That one's not quite ready yet. Got a nice one there. There's another one right there as well. So that's done really well this year. And we've still got some containers on go as well. Some carrots. Those are spring onions that we've multi-sown, and some lettuce. We've just took an harvest of that. But we've still got quite a few things going on. They're Florence red onions. Multi-sown little gem. A little bit of spinach there. And this is that big container of Florence red onions that we did. And it's now starting to form the bases of those red onions, as you can see. And that's that spinach container that we looked at only a few days ago. And it's now starting to get some really nice leaf growth on it. But it's things like this that are going to have to go now. This container tomato plant, it's just got a few tomatoes left on it, but they're all starting to split now. They're getting overripe. And a lot of them aren't going to be any good. We can wait until these green ones start to ripen if we want. But for the amount of tomatoes I've already had, I'm not too bothered. So I'll take that out of container garden and I'll just pop it to the side somewhere. And if we get any more off it, great. But if we don't, we've done really well out of it anyway. And the same thing with this. This is that melon plant that we've been trying to cling on to. But because the year's not been very good, it's never really had a chance to grow anything. It's suffered a lot with spider mite as well. But there's no chance that anything's going to grow on this plant, even if it were perfectly healthy. It's just too late in the year now. Meanwhile, those little hanging baskets still producing more red tomatoes. Although, again, getting very tired. I have still got some peppers on here. And this one is now trying to ripen and it's still hard. So maybe we'll get at least one ripe pepper this year. If not two. The carrots are still perfectly fine. They can be just left to their own devices now. And we've got some germination from his winter lettuce. That's lamb's lettuce. And we've done a couple of containers of those and they definitely need a little bit of water. But apparently it is going to rain all afternoon. So I'm sure it can wait till then. And I've got some more carrots in here again. Quite small ones. I keep losing labels out of these containers, but these could be little finger. Took another harvest from here, a Apache red lettuce leaf. We've got a container here with a pepper plant in it. There's no peppers on it, but I'm going to overwinter that one because we've got loads of new growth trying to come through. So I'll strip all them bottom leaves back and then we'll overwinter this one because it's a nice little stocky one. And we've got these French bean plants. These are doing alright. They'll last a few weeks longer before they get too tired. But we are getting beans growing on them, so we're going to get something. But this beetroot container is looking really good. We've got true leaves on there now. Plenty of growth. And they're going to be those baby beets that we're hoping for by Christmas. And we've got peas now on these plants, which is brilliant. Peas are better suited to colder weather, so these will probably go for a bit longer. We just need to keep encouraging it to grab hold of that netting with those little tendrils, and then it'll climb a little bit more. But these are dwarf varieties, so they don't get too big. But we've definitely got some peas, haven't we, which is great. And we've got another container with potatoes in. And this one's looking pretty tired, so that's going to be getting emptied very soon. And these are Picasso, so they're a main crop potato, but I don't think we're going to get much more growth out of these now. And I've cut back that parsley to promote fresh growth as well, which we'll be doing through September with quite a few plants. So we have still got a few bits and bobs going on in here, and I'll be adding a few more things to it over the next few weeks. But you can see that we have got one or two things that we need to start taking away now and replace them with autumn winter plants, which is why I was saying I'm going to be taking some of these plants up. We've got one there that's been stripped. That's no good anymore. There's nothing on it except that tiny little thing. But we're finished with this plant, so it might as well be took up. One's fell off, this one. I can take that indoors and ripen it in the house anyway. But again, there's a couple of tomatoes on the bottom we've got some tired looking leaves on these now, and there's not a lot of fruit. So this plant has only got something like 4 tomatoes left on it, and there's no time to be growing new ones. So we might as well take the tomatoes off that and pull that plant up. And I think it's going to be the same during next week for pretty much all these Italian plums. But if you've seen previous videos, you know we've had loads of them, and we've made up some really nice batches of sauce. These ones have got quite a few more on, so this side at greenhouse I'll probably leave, because there's some nice big ones at the top. But we can definitely clear out at least one side at greenhouse. And then we need to be looking at this plant as well. That's that Jack Be Little miniature pumpkin that's just growing like crazy. We keep getting little pumpkins growing on it. They're all over the place. There's some there, over there. There's one down there as well. One there. Loads and loads of them. But yeah, they're not growing very big. And I think maybe we should have cut this vine back to stop it trying to produce more and more. Because we've got fruit growing there, but we've also got new buds and new fruit that's trying to grow all the way along this greenhouse. And it'll just keep going and going. So basically, it's putting loads of energy into all this extra growth. So where this vine has produced one pumpkin there, it then carries on and starts trying to put out more and more. So because it's quite late in year, I'm going to cut it off. That will not grow anymore now, and this we can just take away, and it's not having to feed all that foliage anymore. And it's a shame to have to do it, but if we don't do that, we won't get any pumpkins at all. So that can now go into compost. So now we've got a more compact plant that's not going to grow anymore. It now needs to start and put energy into growing these little fruits to a decent size, and hopefully that's what will happen. So again, as we approach the beginning of September, we can see that we've got things that are still looking alright. We've got things that are looking tired, they're past their best. And we've also got things that want to continue growing, but there's just not enough time left for them to get anywhere. And if they grow bigger and bigger and produce little fruits, those little fruits will never get to full maturity. So basically we'll end up with nothing, which is why I've halved that miniature pumpkin plant. There's about 4 or 5 pumpkins on that plant, which now should get more energy and grow a bit bigger. And it's because the year's been like it has that that plant hasn't done as much as it should. Or at least as we approach autumn, we can give it a better chance by cutting down on the amount of energy it's pushing into extra growth and force it into those little pumpkins that's already on there. Then of course we'll be cleaning up those greenhouses that we just looked at, moving more things out of that container garden and hopefully adding more things into it, but plants that are much more cold hardy. So that's his plan for September, and hopefully you're going to be on board. I don't expect everybody to be wanting to grow things through autumn and winter, especially since we've had quite a bad year and it has been a bit of a knockbite for a lot of newbies. We can still try a little bit of summer, a container here and there. We've also got a lot of tidying up to do. So I'll get all those plans put into motion and we'll get a few bits and bobs sorted out this afternoon. Meanwhile, at some point this afternoon on Cooking Channel, I'm going to be making some banana bread. And I think I'm going to try making that in air fryer, because it's cheaper to run than an oven. So if you're interested in seeing that video, there's a link to a Cooking Channel in the description, and I'll try and get that video on for some point this afternoon. But if you want to see what I'm going to be doing on this channel over the next few days, please hit that subscribe button, press that notifications bell, and I look forward to seeing you then. Take care.